everybody, it's Justin here, aka Demonic Sweaters. Today I have a really fun video for you guys. What I'm calling today's video is Advanced Techniques for Electronic Drums, Volume 1. The reason why I'm calling it that is because this actually is pretty advanced. If you're new to electronic drums, you probably haven't done anything like this, or maybe you've done part of stuff like this, but this is one of those things that's pretty heavily involved. And for the big E-drum nerds out there, you'll probably dig it, I think. And if you're new to this channel and you're new to electronic drums, you'll probably still find it pretty interesting. So what I'm going to be doing is using this Donner electronic drum kit, as well as the Avatar PD705. This is the DED-200X, by the way, by Donner. And that's the Avatar PD705 multi-pad, sample, percussion pad, whatever it's called. And over here on my left, I've got my laptop. I'll show you a different angle so you guys can see all the stuff that I have set up here. And it's running Ableton Live 11. So basically what I did here is I got a bunch of loops from Loopcloud and created a session in Ableton Live. And what I'm doing is I'm controlling that session using the PD705, like actually switching through the scenes in Ableton. And all of the sounds are being triggered in Ableton from the Donner DED-200X. So basically, there's no sounds coming from either of the drums here that you see. Everything is being created within Ableton Live, and I'm controlling it all in real time with all of this electronic equipment that is right here. So yeah, I mean, it's not like an unheard of thing, obviously, like a lot of people have done stuff like this, but really, I think this is probably the most involved that I've ever done, where I'm actually switching through the different parts, through the sample pad and playing everything, you know, through Ableton Live. And I just think it came out really good. So I'm excited to show you guys, but first I'm going to show you how I did all of this. And if you like this kind of content, be sure to like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you get notified every time I upload new content. As well as if you want to pick any of this stuff up, I'll have links down below, as well as a link to Loopcloud where you can get a 14-day free trial, which is what I did to create this video. And it's really cool. Loopcloud, we're going to go over that too. Has a lot of stuff in there, a lot of awesome sounds that you can use. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. There's a lot to go through in here. And hopefully this video will make some kind of coherent sense. But anyway, here we go. Okay, first let's talk about the hookup of all of this stuff. Now the plushies, that is optional, obviously, but they keep you company while you're playing drums, so nice to have there. But anyway, I have the Donner DED-200X. And if you haven't seen my video on this kit, check it out. This is a great little drum kit, very affordable. Got the Pearl double bass drum pedal on there, which I also made a video about recently. And yeah, I actually really like this little drum set. Anyway, and then over here I have the PD705, which I've made a lot of content on. And both of these, I have the USB output. There's one right here. There's another one over here. They're both going over to my laptop, which is right here. And my laptop, I have plugged into this M-Audio audio interface, 192/14. This is probably overkill, but it's just the one that I had that had USB-C, which was the only port that I had available on the laptop after plugging in the two MIDI cables. So you're going to need a pretty powerful laptop if you're going to do this. I mean, it doesn't have to be like insane, but this one, I think it's a Ryzen 7 with like either 32. Actually, let's just see what's in this. So it is a Ryzen 5, sorry, Ryzen 5 5600U with 16 gigabytes RAM and a 2 gigabyte graphics card. And that is working fine for me. I'm able to get the latency actually very low. So, you know, anything like around these specs should do it for you. If you have a newer MacBook or something like that, that should absolutely crush it. But I tried my old MacBook first, which is from 2015, which is a dual processor Core i5, and that did not work for this at all. Like, it just could not handle it. But yeah, you're gonna need a powerful laptop. Okay, so both of those are running into my Ableton session here, and the drum set, the Donner DED-200, is going to this channel right here, which is in the front, this drum channel. And I'm gonna show you exactly how I set all this up on a screen capture here in a second. But basically, this is controlling the drum rack in Ableton, which is this thing right here. And then there's samples loaded into the drum rack. So I'm not using Easy Drum or anything like that. This is all Ableton built-in stuff, basically. And so that one is record enabled. And I selected the DED-200 as the MIDI input. And then for the session, like basically if I click on MIDI right here, you can see all of these scenes that I have mapped. And those are all mapped to the different pads on the Avatar PD705. So anytime I tap a pad, it will switch through the different parts of basically the song that I created, which allows me to play and control the music all at the same time. Now, it took me some practice to be able to do it. I had to think about how I'm going to hit the pad at the right moment to switch to the next part of the song. So that's something you have to practice, but it's a lot of fun. Once I got it all set up, everything worked really good. I was actually really surprised. Well, I wasn't surprised actually, not at all. Like I knew it would work because I've done it before, but I just thought it was really cool. It was a lot of fun. So let's go into the screen capture and I'm going to show you exactly how to set up the drums as well as how to map MIDI and do all that stuff. Okay, now I'm not sure of the audio quality for my voice here because I'm using the built-in mic on the laptop for this, but hopefully it's good enough to where you guys can hear it. So let's go ahead and start with a couple of things you need to set up within Ableton to make this work. So first off, let's go here to Options. If you are on a Mac, it'll be under File, and then go to Preferences. Okay, and let's take a look at our MIDI inputs. So you'll notice here, I have down in the bottom list here, you can see the DED-200. I have only track selected for that. And for the drum pad is the Avatar PD705, by the way. I have track and remote selected. So this allows me to use the PD705 to control the Ableton scenes, basically to switch through the scenes within Ableton. Okay, so now there's going to be some latency when I'm showing you this stuff on this screen capture because I have to switch to the Windows audio driver in order for you guys to hear everything that I'm doing. So it's not low latency in this screen capture, but actually let me get back to that so I can show you what needs to be done there for audio. So normally what you would do is do your ASIO driver here and then select, you would want to have your buffer basically as low as you can get it. I think I had mine set to 96 for this session, and I was able to do that with no problem whatsoever. So, that's so you don't get latency when you're playing the drums. If you try to do it with the MME DirectX driver, which is selected right now, you'll have a ton of latency and it won't work. So you have to have like a good ASIO driver. If you're on Mac, you don't have to worry about that. The audio drivers on Mac are already low latency. So if you just select, whichever audio interface you're using and then set your buffer very low, it should work just fine. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on past that. So let's talk about how to map the DED-200 first off. So I'm going to create another track here just so I don't mess up the one that I had. Let me save this first. I'm going to go to Insert MIDI Track. I'm just going to drag this over here. Okay, and so what I like to do first is just to grab basically a drum, preset from Ableton. And you can see that here if you just go to Drum Rack or under Drums, there's all these different kits that are already available. So you can preview these by just clicking on them. And that Atom kit sounds cool. I kind of wish I'd used that now, but oh well. So I'll drag this over here onto this track. And then I'm going to select MIDI input. I'm going to select the DED-200. Okay, now if I hit a drum, you should hear it, and you do. So almost everything mapped on this one, but I see a couple of crashes. If this crash 2 isn't quite working. So here's what we're going to do to map something onto crash 2. So what you need to do is actually hit the crash and then look around in this drum rack and find the one that is lit up. There it was. So let's go back. See E2 right there? Oh no, sorry, this is A2. Well, E2 is the edge, yeah. A2 is the tip or the bow, and E2 is the edge. So now what I could do is actually select a drum sound that I want to put on there. So we can go down here, or up here rather, to drum hits. You can use your own samples if you like to, but let's look at some of the cymbals here. Crash Bandicoot. All right, it doesn't matter. This is just for demonstration purposes, so I'm just going to put whatever there. These two slots. So now when I hit the cymbal, it triggers those two crashes. One for the tip and one for the edge. So it's really that easy. Now, say you want to change one of the drum sounds that are already there. Like, say I want to change my kick drum. So what I can do is if I just click this little swap button right here, it'll automatically go to the kicks in Ableton. And then I can just go through these and preview all these kicks, find one that I like, and then I just double click it and it swaps it out. So there we go. So once you get all of your drums set up the way you want, the next thing you would want to do, well, actually, you could do this in any order, actually, but I had actually set up my loops and everything first. That's what all of these are here. So I have a lot of different loops in this session. And what I did, once I had all of that set up, I'm going to go over that here. I'm going to switch to the desktop to show you guys that. But once I had all of that ready, what I did is I went in here to the MIDI settings, and then I basically just tap any button that I want to map. All right, so let me give you guys a demonstration. I deleted that mapping out of there. So I'm going to click and then tap on the avatar, whichever pad I want to map to it. So I just tapped the first pad there, and it mapped that to that particular button. So now if I turn off MIDI, if I tap that pad on the avatar now, it starts the loop. So basically, yeah, that's pretty much all you have to do, other than build the entire session first. So let's talk about that next. I guess I could have done that first, but this is just how I had it set up here. So let's move on.
All right, I started a new session in Ableton, so I'm going to walk you guys through the process of what I did. Okay, so first off, if you install Loopcloud, Loopcloud is where I got a lot of those loops that you heard in the intro and that you're going to hear through the full song and the rest of the video here coming up. But anyway, Loopcloud basically is an online service that offers you a ton of loops and sounds that you can download. And the way that it integrates into your DAW is really cool. So I'm going to show you right now. Here, if I go here into my plugins, basically after you install Loopcloud, it installs all these plugins on your system, and then I can just drag this over to a MIDI channel. And then if I click on Open App, this will open up the Loopcloud service, and basically this synchronizes with Ableton, so you can preview the loops in real time with your session and then drag them into Ableton and so on. So it's a really, really cool thing. Like I said, there's a link down below. You can check it out if you want to pick it up for yourself. But anyway, let's go ahead and just check some of these out. So there's a lot of different genres and sounds and things in here. I went with like K-pop pack for a lot of the sounds that I use, but there was some other stuff mixed in there too. But there's all kinds of stuff in here, as you can see. How about this Electro Detroit Classic? Let's go in here. Now you don't have to do a pack either. Like you can do all kinds of stuff. You can just search by type. But I mean, this is really deep. I'm going to have to do a whole video just on Loopcloud because it has a ton of features. But anyway, let's go ahead and listen to some of these. So let's look at some synth loops here. Okay, that one sounds pretty good. All right, so say I found a loop that I like. What I can do now is if I click this little edit button down here, I can actually add a track. So now I can start to see what some of the loops sound like together. Another thing that I can't talk, is if I click this lock button right here. Now you see this letter right here, that's the key. So if I click lock, and then if I add any other loops, if I click on here on empty track, and I start adding other loops, it'll automatically transpose those loops to match this sample or this loop. So let's look at bass sounds now. Okay, that one's working pretty cool. This doesn't have to be perfect. This is just to show you guys an example. And I'm going to select another empty track here. And I can keep doing this. I can keep searching for other sounds. Let's just go to search here. Let's not even look in the same sample pack. Let's look at vocal samples here. And let's see what we can find. We'll go to, the key was G. And let's do G major. And let's select some of these. Pretty nice. Now you can also change the level of the different samples. Okay, so you can see here it says buy, and this is not actually, it's not going to charge me any money because I'm using my points. We have points over here on the right. So if I click that, I'm going to go ahead and buy all of these because, yeah, I think they sound cool. I'll probably use them later. So now I have basically I have options here. What I could do, if I want to, I could export all of these loops as one sample, one loop sample, by clicking and dragging where it says export over to an audio track here, like that. Now if I play this back in Ableton, it's there. Now, another thing you could do though, and what I did more of when I was making mine, is I actually separated out the tracks. Basically, I was using the Loopcloud interface to preview what they sounded like together, so I get a sense, of what they would sound like. But you can also take these individual samples and drag them like this. So if I drag all three of these here, now I basically just recreated what I did in the Loopcloud interface. But I have individual control over it now. And I can turn some on and off if I want. Okay. So basically, that's what I did. Now, once I had a lot of stuff in here, that I was happy with, I started arranging, creating different scenes. Like say I want a scene with just this loop on it. And I can drag these down here like this. And then if I hold down shift and drag this one, and those two there, now I basically have steps. So I can use this master play button over here to do number one. Same with number two, where the bass comes in, and then the vocal sample here. Okay, and then, so I assemble all of that the way that I want, and then when I go to map the PD705, I map to this over here. Like I go to MIDI and then click that, then tap the PD705. So that way I don't have to map every single individual clip. I could just map the scenes. So that's basically what I did, or that's exactly what I did. So I created that whole project first, mapped everything to the PD705, and then created my drum sounds, and then basically put it all together and played it live. So I guess the next thing to show you is how it all came out.
right, so hopefully you enjoyed that. I know I had a lot of fun doing this video. This just goes to show that you don't have to have like the highest end equipment to do some really cool stuff with. This is basically an entry-level drum kit. The PD705 is not super expensive. It's definitely much cheaper than the Roland alternatives or even the Alesis one. And I really like this thing. I've had this for years now. The Donner DED-200 as well is a great little drum kit. So anyway, yeah, it's really fun to do this kind of thing. If you don't have Ableton Live, you can actually get a more inexpensive version. I think it is called Live Lite or Live Intro or something like that. I can't remember what they call it now. But you can still do all of this stuff that I did in this video with the light version of Ableton. If you can spend a little bit more, you can get the standard version, which is what I have and does, you know, quite a bit more. But still, you know, you can do this with other DAWs as well in different ways. I just really like Ableton for this specific thing because it's basically made to do stuff like this. That's why it's called Ableton Live. When they originally made the software, it was for live performance, even though a lot of people do use it for recording, but it really excels in using it for live situations like this. So anyway, if you have a question like that I didn't answer in this video and need help configuring some complicated setup like this, I have an Ask Me page. You can check out that link down below, and I can basically be hired to help you set up whatever you're trying to set up. So if you have an interest in that, there's a link down below. There's affiliate links for all of this stuff, for the drum set, for the PD705, for Loopcloud, all that stuff. It's all linked down below. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the bell icon so you get notified every time I upload new stuff, and I'll see you on the next video. Have a great day.